Hi, everyone, and thank you again for joining us for another edition of the First Google Hangout. So this time we'll be talking about what we should do in the summertime when school's out. So it's titled School's Out, Now What? I know a lot of you are prepping to end your school year. You're probably taking all your stuff out of your locker. You're getting ready to peace out and not see high school until August or September. But before you do that, we wanted to give you some tips and advice on what you should do to make sure that you wrap up your school year in the right way to make sure you're college ready. I know you're probably thinking school's over, I'm not really thinking about college, but college should always be on your mind as you're preparing and going through the process of going through high school and getting ready to go to college. So I have some amazing panelists that are going to share some great information with you on what you should be doing to wrap up your school year, but also some tips and tricks and ideas that you can use in the summertime. So instead of going to the beach and going to concerts, you can do all that stuff too, but definitely setting aside some time to make sure that you're prepping for college and becoming college ready. So I'm going to let my amazing panelists introduce themselves, and we're going to hop right into the questions. But before you guys actually introduce yourselves, I want to remind the audience that we do have a Q&A portion of the Hangout. So what that means is, as we're going through the Hangout, if you have any questions based off of what someone said, or if you need clarification or whatever it is, feel free to submit those questions. We have a Q&A portion at the end where we be answering all the questions that come in. So don't be afraid to send in your questions. We're more than happy to answer them. Alrighty. So again, I'm going to let our amazing panelists introduce themselves, and we're going to jump into our questions. And Anna, you can start.
Thanks, Chelsea. So my name's Anna Hilton, and I work with a nonprofit organization based in Bethesda, Maryland. We start working with students in 10th grade and help them do everything that has to do with the college application process. But then we also stay with our students while they're in college to make sure that they graduate. And we're primarily working with low-income first-generation to college students.
I can hop in and introduce myself next. My name is Nicole Lentini. I am a Senior Assistant Director of Admission at Champlain College up in Burlington, Vermont.
Hi, everyone. My name is David Humphrey. I am the Director of Multicultural Access and Outreach for Indiana Wesleyan University, a small private comprehensive Christian college in Marion, Indiana, Central Indiana.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for introducing yourselves. For all of you who are watching, you see we have sort of the high school side with Anna representing the high school side and being able to give advice there, but then we also have David and Nicole representing the college side and the college perspective. So you're going to get an all-around sort of platter of different things that you can do to really make sure that you're wrapping up your school year and you're staying college ready even in the summertime. So let's jump into the question. So the first question is for everyone. We'll start with Nicole in answering it. So school's out and students are ready for summer. But before they pack up, what are some things that students can do to make sure that they're all set for the next school year?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I think that just making sure that everything's taken care of with your classes as these last few weeks wind down, connecting with your teachers, thanking them for all the help that they provided to you through the summer. It seems like a small thing, but when it comes to whether it's recommendation letters that they've written or can write for scholarships, whether it's letters they wrote to help you get into college if you're ending your senior year, thinking about those relationships that you formed are incredibly important. Also, I think just not entirely letting everything dissipate from your mind. You're going to be going off to a pretty rigorous academic environment, so keep throwing a book or two in there over the summer, when you're outside and enjoying the weather. I think still continuing to keep your mind challenged is a great way to make sure that by the time college rolls around, you're ready to go.
Yeah, I agree. Relationships and keeping your mind sharp, like Nicole mentioned, are very important aspects to consider. If you are a senior, you want to make sure that you are kind of transitioning out and connecting yourself to the college environment that you're getting ready to getting ready to start schooling. So that means, check out the accepted student web pages. Make a connection, reach out to an admissions counselor. Start to think about what are the things, the tools that are necessary for me to make a successful transition from high school into college. If you're an underclassman, if you're a junior or a sophomore, you want to think about how can I position myself best this summer to have a successful senior year in high school. So, look at the testings, the SAT and ACT tests you need to take and things like that.
The only additional thing that I would add would be, and this is for any year, is if you know what, you should know your courses by the time you leave school for that academic year. If there is a class that you know is going to be challenging for you that next year, is talking to maybe the teacher that's going to teach it before you leave, and thinking of ways how you can prepare for that class so that it may not be as challenging. So, if it's a math class, are there some math problems you can do over the summer? If it's your literature class, what books are they going to be reading in the class? And can you read those books over the summer so that you'll still have to read them again, but at least you'll be more familiar with it, and you wouldn't be reading them for the first time in class.
I just want to add one more thing that I forgot to mention earlier, and David kind of alluded to it, is definitely look into other opportunities that are happening over the summer that can keep you sharp. There's a lot of college programs that are out there, and I think we can even mention some later, but keep an eye out for those. But also plead to the seniors right now. If you've already committed to a school, let your other colleges know that you're not going there, because you will save yourself some headaches and some calls and some emails, and you'll save some admission counselors some headaches. So just a little plea is we're going into May 1st tomorrow.
Awesome, thanks guys. So the next question is for Anna. What are some questions that students should be asking their counselor at the end of the school year in terms of being college ready? I know you talked a little bit about knowing what your classes are for the next school year, the next semester, but what are some other things that students should have on their list when they talk to their counselor?
Sure. So again, for every grade level, you should definitely talk to your counselor about making sure that you're on track for high school graduation. Even as a ninth grader, I'm a firm believer in having like an academic plan. So what courses you should be taking in the next couple of years. Also, if there's anything that you can take that can help you figure out what your interests are. So like there's a lot of inventories that students can take to figure out what they're really strong in or what potentially they like. So something like that, your counselor would definitely have some reference to that, so they can ask that. For juniors, you definitely want to talk to your counselor and even a teacher about asking for a letter of recommendation. So you want to ask for that before the end of your junior year, so that they could potentially write it over the summer, or at least they'll know in the fall that you want a letter of recommendation from them, so it's not going to be a surprise in the fall, because they're going to have so many, summer before senior year, so they're going to have so many other students who are also going to be asking them for letter of recommendation, so you want to make sure that you're one of the first students to ask them. That's it for now.
Awesome, thanks, Anna. Definitely want to piggyback and thumbs up the asking teachers for letters of recommendation prior to. That was based on my college clinic experience. That was something that I did kind of late in the game. I asked like in September when everyone else had already started asking teachers. So I was sort of at the bottom of the list when it came to the order in which letters of recommendations would have been received. So again, echoing what Anna said, definitely get on asking for letters of recommendations pretty early, because it gets real senior year. You don't know it until you get to it, but yeah, it definitely will. Awesome. So we are going to go to the next question, and this question is for David and Nicole. So from an admissions counselor perspective or from a college perspective, what are some ways that students can use their summers to prep for college? What's something, in admissions or when you're reviewing the application, what is something that you want to see a student that a student has done in the summer to prep for college?
Well, I have three things, real quick. Well, if I'm looking at an application, I want to see that first off that a student is not only stimulating their brain, but also we have a real passion here of making sure kids are connected to their local community. What ways are you engaged in your local community? What ways are you still establishing yourself, even though you're at a distance, even though you may be going hours away from home? What ways are you still staying connected to the local community? What ways are you serving? We would love for students, especially if they're in the summer after they recently graduated, to look for the accepted students pages on our college website. So look for that page and look at the accepted students page and see what's going on there, the activity. There are a lot of things that will happen. Through that page, you'll gain access to a lot of the information, such as new student registration. You also should have some links for financial aid located on that website. Financial aid is essentially key for you as you're entering college, because you want to make sure all of those things are taken care of. But lastly, you also want to start to connect to social media channels that are connected to the institution, because you may identify friends that are going and are starting their first year at the institution as well. That way you can create some relationships with people, so you won't come in and feel totally estranged, totally by yourself, but you'll start developing relationships really early with people.
Yeah, I would completely agree with David. We want to make sure that you're connecting with the incoming community, that you're keeping in touch with us, letting us know what's happening, and that you're making sure to kind of take care of each piece along the way. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of questions you need to answer over the summer. There's sometimes class registration. There's residential pieces, and so keeping in touch with us and keeping an eye on that is going to be the best way you can stay on top of that. And we've already said it before, but keep in touch with your admission counselor. They will help you make sure that you're taking care of each piece along the way. If they're not in charge of that, they'll make sure to connect you with the person that is. We want to know who you are, so that when you come in at orientation, we know where you're coming from and what you've been doing and who you've been connecting with, and it'll make you feel so much better when you come on campus and you get to see these other students you've been chatting with and making these connections with. It'll make you feel great. And also, just staying involved, taking advantage of being home if you're home for a few more weeks, whether that's working part-time, whether that's being involved in community service, just getting to immerse yourself in that a little bit longer before you head on off to college, or if college is in the same hometown, at least soaking up that last little bit. But I think staying on top of those details is going to be the most important thing. And yes, keep in touch with through social media. We make those tools and those channels for a reason.
If I can add one more thing here, I think it's important, guys. You want to understand that you're getting ready to transition from high school to college. There's a lot of emotional elements there, a lot of psychological elements there. So start the conversation early. Start talking to your mom or your dad or the close friends about the fact that, hey, I'm getting ready to transition. Hey, let's talk this through. Let's look at how it's going to be, because when you get there, if you haven't started to deal with the fact that you're leaving home from the nest and you're going to a different terrain, then that first semester can be really hard on you. So you want to start thinking about that process as well.
And sorry, I just want to add something really quick. If any of the schools that you're attending as a freshman, as a first year in college, if they offered any transition programs over the summer, you definitely want to attend those, because that's going to help you get more acquainted with the school before all the other students come, and you may have the opportunity to take a couple classes, and that's going to help you with the academic transition as well.
Awesome, thanks you guys. So we're just gonna roll right along. Good stuff so far. So the next question is for Anna and Nicole, and it's about employment, summer employment. I know that's a big thing that a lot of high schoolers think about and talk about when the summer gets here. So during the summer, students typically get jobs. Do you suggest students become employed or focus on academics and preparing for college? And sort of what are the pros and cons, if any, of having a job during the summer or focusing on prepping for college, whether it's through a program on a college campus or whether it's their own college planning sort of tool that they have for themselves.
Okay, I'll go. So, in terms of having a job or I'm a firm believer you should do something. I think you should do something with your time during the summer. I think with some families, if income is more of an issue, then having something that pays you is definitely more important. But if a student is able to find something that they have a genuine interest in, to me, that's the ideal situation. And if you can get paid for it, even better. So whether that's an actual job, whether that's an internship, or whether that's somewhere that you're volunteering, I think it's those things are important. My big takeaway is you should do something with your time during the summer. So if you're interested in, work with a lot of students who are into computer programming and video games and things like that, you should find an organization or something externally where you are able to take part in that or help out with that versus just staying in your house all summer long and playing video games. So I hope that makes sense. But just making use of your summer and finding things that you're genuinely interested in, and that's going to come through in your college applications.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. So I think we lost Nicole really quickly, but that's okay. We're going to keep going on to the next question, and then when she comes back, we can sort of backtrack so she can give her advice on that question as well. So the next question is actually for David and Nicole whenever she returns. But so this question is, are there summer opportunities in the community or on college campuses like yours that students can become involved in to prep for college? And how do students find out about these different opportunities?
Yeah, thank God for the World Wide Web, right? You can really go online, go on the institution's website, kind of check out what's going on. Also check out social media. Like, for example, we have like a summer scholars program where kids can actually apply and come on campus, take some college courses for college credit early. So when they come on campus for their actual first year, they'll actually have credit that they can use towards their degree, kind of accelerate the process or accelerate the plan. But you want to do some investigative research as well. In addition to visiting those open houses that you'll have your senior year, right? You want to also check and see if there are community organizations in your area that are offering types of programs that can help stimulate your brain. We don't really consider it as we're transitioning to college, but we're going to another level of learning. So it's so important to, get those engines firing in our brain so that we can be prepared to engage in the type of academic activity that will make us successful in our first year, especially. So those are a few things to consider.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I think Nicole just joined us, so we're going to see if she pops up and she can answer this question as well. Hey, Nicole, you're back?
I am. I'm so sorry about that.
No, it's A-okay. It's technology. Not a problem. So we're actually on question number, which question? Question number 5. The question that was for you and David. It's are there summer opportunities in the community or on college campuses like yours that students can become involved in, and how do students learn about these opportunities? So it's your turn to answer this one.
Yes, and I'm happy to, and thank you for your patience for me. So yeah, I think for either potential incoming students or students who are still in high school, there's great summer opportunities available. I know here at Champlain we have a bunch of different summer programs. We have a game academy for students interested in going into game development. We have an academy for students interested in digital forensics, all sorts of different things, and so many colleges out there have those kinds of programs. So there's a lot of different resources that have information about summer programs. I know actually I'm First is a great place to find those out on the different college pages, but your counselors will usually know about them as well, your high school counselors and any counseling programs like the one that Anna's involved in. So reach out to them and see what's happening, especially if you have a particular area you want to go into. And then for incoming students, I mean, you can go to those as well, but also see if there's any pre-orientation programs happening. We have some really great transition programs for our students, and they're a few days long, usually a small group of students, but they're really great opportunities to connect with people ahead of time and be able to make those friendships early and get a taste of what the college is all about without, you know, being totally overwhelmed when you come in for orientation. So there's lots of opportunities out there. Just, you know, reach out to your counselors and they'll be able to tell you about them.
Awesome, great. So sort of the overarching things, you know, getting involved and seeing what's out there, not sitting on your couch and playing the new Call of Duty that's coming out, but really getting out there and you know, doing something that you're interested in or whatever is related to college. So because I know a lot of students just want to chill out in the summertime, just kind of kick back, and you can do that for a little bit, but definitely try not to get too relaxed and really, and as David has been sort of preaching, really understanding that this transition is really going to be a big one, especially for the, you know, the seniors going into college. So really prepping for that, and even for juniors going into senior year. Like I said, senior year is going to get really, really crazy. So not becoming too, you know, too relaxed in the summer. A lot of what you can be doing in the summer, that'll work out for you, because come, you know, August or September, you're not freaking out like all of your other friends trying to get things started, because you've already, you know, taken some time in your summer to prep and to do a lot of your college planning then. So awesome sauce. Thanks, guys. So we're going to move on to the next question. And this question is for Anna and David. So what are some good online resources students can use to be proactive on their own to be college ready? So say if a student isn't involved or connected with an organization like Collegiate Directions, or maybe a student doesn't know about sort of the Accepted Student Day, or, you know, some summer programs that are in the community, what are some other ways that students can become college ready and sort of create their own college planning sort of track?
Okay, so if College Board has Big Futures. If you're not familiar with it, you can log in. It's also where you sign up for your SAT or your subject test if you're planning on taking those. But they've come out with Big Futures, which helps students. It helps students navigate different aspects of the college process. So you can do, I believe you can do a college match on there. So, you know, based on different criterias, your academic profile, your standardized testing, what kind of school you're looking for, and then, you know, once you answer certain questions, it'll come up with a list of different schools that you can potentially look into and do some research. So that's Big Futures on College Board. If your school uses Naviance, some of your schools may, some of your schools may not. They have a similar thing on Naviance where you, again, can look up colleges and you put information about how far you want to go, where, what major you may potentially want to go into. And again, it'll do the same thing. It'll come up with a list of schools that you can potentially do research and find out more information. So that's just a starting point. Then you can always go to the school's websites individually and look up information there. Also, I'm a firm believer that you should start applying for scholarships as soon as possible. You know, you shouldn't wait till senior year. It can really make the difference to that school you really want to attend. So fastweb.com is a scholarship site, and so is scholarship.com. You do have to create, well, you don't have to create a profile, but it's better if you create a profile, because then they will send you scholarships that are specific to you, and you can have them send you daily updates or weekly updates, whatever you like. There's a whole bunch of different options, and that way you just get the email. You can look into the site. So never too soon to apply for scholarships, and no scholarship is too small. If you get, you know, 5 scholarships of 100, that's $500, and that can help you buy your books, or that can help you buy your plane ticket home. So don't only apply to those scholarships that say $10,000 or $25,000, because those are also going to be the more competitive ones, because everyone wants to apply to the $10,000 and the $25,000 one. So those are a couple of different resources.
Yes, absolutely. I agree everything you said, Anna. One more thing that I would like to add is it's okay to be what I like to call proactive. if you know schools that you're interested in, then why don't you? I know me being a student of color, and I was a first gen student coming out of high school, so I was scared to death, right? And I was like, oh my God, I'm going into an entirely different climate. I don't know anything. So what I did is I looked at professors that looked like me. I looked up professors that were of color, that could kind of speak to some of the areas or the tensions that I had, the nervousness that I had. So I actually proactively reached out to college professors and said, hey, would you mind talking to me? Would you mind answering some of these questions? And actually, I ended up enrolling in the school that one of the professors that I struck a relationship with, because he was so open to me. And then he was impressed that a high school senior was reaching out to him to ask questions about college. So it actually bode well for me in the application process because I had his recommendation. So don't be afraid to reach out to professors as well as staff and administrators at schools that you may be interested in, or even schools that may be close to where you live, because they can offer some really unique insights into the college experience as well.
Awesome, thanks. So we are gonna head on to the next question. Now I know I didn't designate this question to anyone, but I'm gonna give it to Anna and Nicole. And David, feel free to jump in if you have anything. So who are some supports that students can reach out to in the summer with any questions or advice? I know sometimes for students, they're not, it's summertime, they're not really connected with their counselors or teachers anymore, but they still want to, sort of prep for college and may have questions and concerns. So, who can they reach out to?
I love what David had said. I love the idea of reaching out to faculty. I think they're so excited to connect with students and to answer those questions and be a support network. And so anybody at the collegiate environment, in the collegiate environment, I've had students reach out to me just for information for research, to ask advice. I've told students at college fairs, give me a shout even if you don't have any interest in my school, if you just want to talk. One time after a college fair that was sort of late in the spring, I talked to a student all about art school and the pros and cons of it. So I think anybody working at the collegiate environment is usually going to be pretty open to talking to you. But also consider talking to people in professions that if you're thinking about studying a particular area, whether it's you want to go into nursing or engineering, or I mentioned game design earlier. I mean, some professions might be a little bit harder to reach out to than others, but I think, if you have any concerns or questions about this area and if it's the right fit for you, just talk with somebody. Usually people are pretty open about having, a quick lunch or quick phone chat or email chat about any questions and concerns you have. So use those resources that are in front of you, or connect with others that might be able to connect you with those people in those professions.
I think the only thing, in addition to, I think what Nicole said, it's completely correct. In terms of the like pursuing a career interest and interviewing, if you don't know anyone in your career, then I would just start talking to the people that you do know and let them know what you want to do. And I mean, just like family connections or friend connections, like those can help you as well. So if you are interested in in someone in business, but you don't necessarily know anyone that works in business, talk to a family member, talk to a friend, and then they can maybe talk to another friend, and then they can maybe talk to someone who actually is in that kind of position. But make sure you use the people who you know as well, because they might have connections that you're not necessarily familiar with.
Awesome, good stuff. So we're going to move on to the next question, which is for everyone. So how can students start to come up with a summer plan to prep for college? So not necessarily seniors, but what are some things that freshmen can do, or even sophomores can do, sort of the grade levels that think it's a little too early to start planning for college, but not really? Like, what are some tips that you can provide for those grade levels in terms of what they can do to become college ready this summer?
Okay. The biggest thing I would say is read. You're gonna have to read in college all the time. Even if you think you're going to be a science major or an engineering major, you're going to have some kind of reading that you're going to have to do, or you're going to have to take some elective class. So classes besides what's required for your major that's going to require reading, and the expectation is higher. You're going to have to read more pages and are going to be expected to be able to observe more information. So if you can find something that you can read, that's great. And that can be a book, that can be magazines. Maybe there's a certain magazine you like, but just as much as you can read at any grade level, it's going to be really, really important. That's my piece.
I'm a proponent for starting young. So I want you to, if you don't remember anything else that I've said, remember that it's never too early to start. So even if you are a ninth grade student, or you're going right into high school, or you're transitioning to 10th grade, go on some college visits. You know, I go by a quote called, "Your level of exposure determines your level of awareness." So when you're exposed to things, you're now aware that those things exist, and you start to expect them. So, start going on college visits, and then when you go on college visits, be that investigative journalist per se, and start asking questions. You should start, identifying people that you can maybe strike up a relationship with, so that you can keep in touch with them, so that you can start to ask them, hey, what would it take for me to make it, or to successfully be admitted into your institution? And what should I be doing to prepare myself? I mean, I'm a proponent for asking straight up hard questions, and being one of those people that they're looking at like, wow, this person is only in 10th grade, but they're asking me all of these questions. And that really impresses people, especially as an admissions counselor. I mean, when we have those kind of interactions, and I'm sure that Nicole will say yes to this too. But when you meet those kids that blow your mind, like you're like, wow, that kid was sharp. You remember those kids, and you keep track of those kids. So, I mean, if you're really finding an institution that you really want to go into, you want to work to get exposed to them and to the people that are the gatekeepers of the institution, the admissions counselors, as early as possible, and get that information.
I completely agree with what both of you have said, and David, I actually have a quick funny anecdote related to what you just said. We had a young lady come into our school and was at Accepted Students Day with her twin siblings who were both in 7th grade, and the level of the questions that they were already asking me in 7th grade blew my mind. And I guess this is giving my years in admissions a little bit, showing how long I've been in it, but they both just applied to this school this past year, and I remembered their applications because of those questions they asked 5 years ago, and they stuck out to me, and I fought really hard for them because I thought, wow, they were already thinking so critically so early on. So yeah, ask those hard questions. Take advantage of college visits if you can. There's some really great college partnerships. There's Upward Bound programs and all sorts of things out there like that that'll bring you on college visits. If it's not as feasible to do them yourself, but if you can hop in a car and go and take advantage of these college visits. And very rarely is a college going to tell you that you can't. They want to have you there and checking things out and asking those questions. And to add what Anna said, not only just reading, which I absolutely agree with, but write too. Even if it's just creative writing, even if it's sitting outside and just writing what you're observing, reading skills and writing skills are going to be so important when you are applying to college, as well as when you get to college. And building those skills now and preparing yourself academically for that now is going to help you tremendously.
Absolutely, and I like to actually add one quick thing. If you have any friends that are currently in college, when they come home for the summer, talk to them. I mean, that's sort of firsthand sort of information, from someone who's actually going through the process. So even if if they're going to a school that you're not interested in, doesn't matter. Just ask them about, their experiences, what the workload is like, what can you be doing to, really prepare yourself so when you're actually in college, you'll sort of have a step up. You'll know what it is that you need to do in terms of time management or work and social balance or whatever it is that you're interested in. So if you have any older friends that are currently in college, or if you have any siblings friends or just people in your community, definitely feel free to reach out to them. I know a lot of college students like to talk about their experiences. Makes them feel a little cool, like, oh, this kid wants to hear about what what it's like to go to college, and they want to hear it from me. So you can sort of boost their ego a little bit, but then you're also learning a ton of information to help prep you. Awesome. So this is the last question before we get to the Q&A, and this question is for everyone. So you guys have provided a ton of great information, and I hope our student audience has really learned a lot. So to wrap things up, what are sort of, I would say, 2 pieces of advice that you'd like to provide for students on how they can best use their summer to prep for college, and also sort of the best ways that they can wrap up the school year. I know we talked about a lot about prepping for the summer, but if there are any additional sort of tips and advice that you'd like to provide for wrapping up the school year, you can give those as well. So 2 each, and you guys can have at it because it's for everyone.
The only thing I would add, I think, that we haven't talked about is, we talked about making sure that your courses were all set. Make sure that you have, I talk to my students all the time about having their 5 core classes, so the English, the math, the science, the social studies / history, and then the language. People forget that language is a core class. And sometimes what you need to graduate high school can be different than what colleges are looking for in admissions. So if at all possible, if you can maintain your 5 core academic classes every year in high school, that would be great. And that would really prepare you for college, but also in terms of admissions, that's something that they will look for as well. So that would be my additional thing that I don't think we've really touched on, but thinking through and trying to make sure that you have your 5 core classes, if possible, throughout high school each year.
I completely agree, Anna, and I would even add, if you think that you want to go into, I know I keep jumping to if you have a particular major in mind, but if students are a little bit more focused in a particular area, making sure you know specifically if you need a particular math or science to be able to get into a program, because you don't want to apply to a program and then find out that you don't have the academics at the highest level to be able to get into that program, like pre-calculus to get into computer science or something like that. But I think just really, I know we already talked about it, but just making sure that you're strengthening those relationships that you have. Your faculty and your counselors are your cheerleaders. They want to help support you however they can, and so making sure to thank them and to make sure you finish your year strong, and that you don't forget all the material that you learned along the way, is really going to be so important. And I'm going to reiterate what we said earlier: read and write. Just keep doing that, because it's only going to help you. I know we've said it a bunch, but it's the best and lasting thing I think I could say.
Yeah, I would say summertime is one of probably the funnest time of high school and even college, but it's also a dangerous time because you could forget and lose that momentum that you've gained over the school year. So yes, keep your brain sharp. But the 2 things that I want you guys to remember is that everything transfers. So everything from 9th grade to 12th grade, it's going to rear its face, whether it was an ugly face or it was Sleeping Beauty. It's going to rear its face in college. So don't neglect those things. Pay attention. And the second thing I want to say is, it's kind of 3-part, but it's reflect, breathe, and anticipate. Reflect on what made your high school experience so great. Reflect on the academic experience you've had, what you can bring and transition with you to college, but also anticipate, right? Anticipate that you're going to have a great experience in college, but yet breathe, because it's not going to be that scary. You'll be okay. You'll make the transition. You'll be okay. But anticipate a great experience. Anticipate being challenged, but also anticipate developing relationships with cool people from diverse places and diverse backgrounds. But also anticipate that one day you will be a college graduate and you'll be able to go into the real life and make a true impact in this world. So that's what I want to leave with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you. You guys are so inspirational. Thank you so much for all of the really, really great information that you've given. We are going to jump into our Q&A. We have about 5 or 6 minutes or so left. So this question is actually for Anna. Do you suggest that a student gets a letter of recommendation from a teacher that they've had more recently, or is it okay if a student gets a letter of recommendation from, let's say, a teacher that they had in the 9th grade when it comes to actually getting these letter of recommendations for applying for college?
Right. It should definitely be someone more recently, because you're a different person in 12th grade than you are in 9th grade. So if you can find, if there's someone that from 11th grade that can speak to your ability. And the thing about the letter of the recommendation, it does not have to be in a class that you were superb, right? It doesn't have to mean that you got an A. If there was a class that was challenging for you and maybe you got a B or C even, or whatever the case may be, but you worked really hard in that class and you talked to the teacher and you met them during lunch or talked to them afterwards, then they can speak to your ability of working hard and trying to really understand the material. So when you're thinking about a teacher to write your letter of recommendation, it does not have to be that class where you got that A. It should really be someone that can really speak to your ability, and or whether you know, if you raised your hand a lot in class and asked questions, or if there were group activities and you helped out. So someone that can speak to those kind of things, not just say that you got an A in your class, because that will show in your transcript. But if you can find someone that's more recent, then that's ideal.
I was muted. Kidding. Okay. So the next question is actually for David and Nicole. So we talked a little bit about different summer programs that students can become involved in. Are these programs free of charge to students, or do students have to pay for this? And if there is a charge, is there any sort of financial assistance that students can learn about in order to fund that opportunity?
Yeah, I think it depends on the program. I know a lot of ours do have a fee, but we have scholarships that we could offer. There are not a ton of them, so you definitely would want to reach out and express your interest and your financial concerns. But I think other programs out there are free of charge. So that's why all the more reason to do your research and see what sorts of programs are out there and what they look like. But take the time to reach out to the people running the program. Usually they want to help students who are interested in it come to it, so they'll do what they can to help.
Yeah, pretty much what she said. Exactly.
Awesome. All right, so we have one last question, and again, this is for whoever would like to answer. So we talked a little bit, very briefly, about SAT and ACT prep. Is that something that you encourage students to do in the summertime, and sort of where can they go to get the prep material? Can they go online? Do you suggest they go to their library? Based on sort of what you know about SAT and ACT prep, where are some of the best avenues and resources for students to go to get this information?
Okay. I believe College Board has some practice tests that you can print out and take, so that's definitely something to do. There are books you can buy. But if you, Khan Academy, if you haven't heard about it, you know, they have regular classwork help, so help with math and different subject matters, but they're also going to be working with College Board on bringing free help. Specifically for the SAT, because they're working with College Board. But that's going to be a free service that students will be able to use if they're not working with, you know, with other resources. But those will be online and will be videos. So those are a couple places. In terms of ACT or additional resources, I would just ask your counselor at your school, or if not, I know some of our schools have like a college and career office where they have that kind of information as well. So I would also go to those resources and see what your school has and what they can give you for free first. So try to use your free resources before you pay for anything.
Awesome. Thanks. I'm all about free. So I definitely suggest, I know most students have either like an iPhone or an Android. Go to your app store and see if you can download some apps. They have a lot of free sort of SAT prep and ACT prep apps that you can use. They have different apps that will send you sort of an SAT word a day or different things like that. So definitely take advantage of, you know, technology. Google can be your best friend. Just Google different things and see what comes up. It can be an, you know, SAT or ACT practice test or different resources that you can use. So definitely utilize your technology when it comes to learning a bit more about SAT and ACT prep. I feel I'm all about free. So if you can get it for free, definitely use it. I know because as a high school student, you probably don't have a ton of money as is. I'm an adult and I don't have a ton of money, so I understand the struggle. But definitely, you know, turn to technology when it comes to trying to find those resources. Awesome. So that is it for the Q&A. Thank you so much to those who submitted questions. And actually, that wraps up our awesome Google Hangout. I want to thank my amazing panelists for giving all of this great information about, you know, wrapping up the school year and becoming college ready. So regardless of whether you're a 9th grader or a 12th grader, they provided a ton of different information that you can use to really jumpstart your summer and to really, you know, get things going when it comes to college prep. So again, thank you so much to you guys for offering this great information. We will be putting up a recap of the Google Hangout. So if you want to share this with your mom, your dad, or some of your friends, feel free to go on our website, imfirst.org/blog, and it'll be up tomorrow. And another really quick plug, not necessarily for us, but just for the college world. Tomorrow is May 1st. I know the college folk know that, and I'm pretty sure Anna knows that it's Decision Day. So there's a big push on social media, hashtag College Signing Day. We really encourage you to, you know, use your selfie sticks, use your, you know, take selfies with your friends and really show off your college pride. So if you have, you know, a t-shirt with your school on it, if you have like a blanket, whatever, do your thing, take your selfies and really show your college pride online tomorrow for Decision Day using the hashtag College Signing Day, but also say First Gen say yes. We want to see your pictures too. So definitely feel free to do that. We'll be on social media showing off our college pride and where we graduated from and all that cool stuff, and we were really excited to see what you guys have. So that's enough plugging for me. Again, I want to thank you all for participating and hanging in there with us. Again, thank you to my amazing panelists who provided a ton of information. And that is it for this Google Hangout, and we will see you next month. Bye-bye.